I hope you are doing all right. First of all, I have a question for you. Do you know who Sergei Korolev is? And if you don't, you will discover it in this interview. And today you will discover how his work has influenced Martin FREI in his work and maybe in his life. So today we have the pleasure to invite Martin FREI on Tourbillon. Two very important novelties in the URWERK's history, and those novelties create a bridge between the past and the future. So, the one and only, the legend, Martin FREI, I'm very happy to invite you on Tourbillon Watch. Today we will speak about not only one watch, but two novelties that you just released today, who is UR102 Reloaded, in the titanium version and in the black version. Mm-hmm. For me, first of all, my favorite one is the titanium version. The blue display is beautiful. I'm sure we will find a way to make sure that this watch will fit on my wrist for decades.
That'd be great, yes.
It would be very, very nice. First of all, I have a question for you. Can you remind us what inspired you to create the first UR102, and what did you want to express at that moment 26 years ago?
Well, of course, it all started with this particular time indication where the hours indicate the minutes. This is the way URWERK began, and inspired, of course, by an ancient clock back in the day. Yeah. But when I saw it first, I was immediately reminded, looking at this kind of display, you know, in that antique medieval clock, of, you know, a celestial body that somehow circles our Earth, and like a moon, like a satellite, you know, that accompanies us and, you know, circling the Earth. And at the very time, actually, when I was approached by Thomas, I actually got to know Thomas and Felix Baumgartner, the watchmakers back in the day, through their cousin who studied art together with me, Christoph Draeger, and we had an artist group together, United Swiss Artists, USA. That's actually parallel to the beginnings of URWERK, because, we were like, you know, students, you know, busy doing our artwork, and just, you know, very convinced that we are the future of art.
Exactly.
And we had the chance actually to do an exhibition in the Kunstmuseum Luzern, Kunsthaus Luzern, and that, of course, was an incredible thing. We were just, you know, like young students, but we had this option to do that. So we were like really, we were thinking, that's it, you know, we are made. You know, this is usually an important
we are on the
moment.
top of the
absolutely, you know, just beginning, but already on top, right? So, no, but it's really something that you normally have to really struggle until you, you know, can exhibit in an art museum like this, because a museum, of course, makes art. You know, as soon as it's exhibited in a museum, it's made art. And so when we started with this exhibition, we started thinking about what we should do, you know, what we should exhibit. And we were, of course, as artists, we were interested in conceptual art, in idea art. So we immediately had the plan to exhibit the museum. So if you have an exhibition in the museum, of course, what do you want to show? You want the museum, you want to show the museum, right? That was our plan. So we had, you know, all sorts of ideas connected to that. And one idea was that we would create an art installation where we would borrow objects from different museums. Okay. You know, the History Museum, the Natural History Museum, the you know, Traffic Museum in Lucerne, all sorts of different kinds of museums that this city had to offer. And we would gather different kinds of objects and somehow install them in the art museum. So on one side, in in those other museums, you would have a void, where you took out an object that would be missing there, and then people, of course, would be a bit confused. Let's say in the Human History Museum, there was a group of early humans gathering around the fireplace.
Okay.
And we borrowed these 2 or 3 figures coming from the fireplace and installed them, took them, these human figurines, we took them and installed them in the art museum, sitting around a recreated Joseph Beuys sculpture with a copper ring and some felt parts and so on. So these figures from the museum, these women, in fact, they were naked women, kind of like from the history museum, with a child and so, and somehow the man in the background. We took the man, actually, we replaced him with another figure that we took from the traffic museum in Lucerne. So we began to somehow install our kind of like weird art piece, consisting out of objects from different museums. And we had a friend, actually a co-student, who worked in the traffic museum. He had a job like for a summer, and so we had the idea to borrow the Sputnik satellite.
Yeah,
because the Sputnik satellite. And that's something that I was just reading a book where they were talking about the post-orbital somehow glance back, from outer space back to Earth. That's the post-orbital, view, and that was gained, by the astronauts for us. So before we didn't have that, and it's this position, being in outer space, circling Earth. Looking back, that actually was the position that was previously taken by the Sputnik. So before even the first human being was out there, the Sputnik was there already.
Yeah.
And as the first human satellite, and has seen everything there is, because it was a mirror, like a mirror ball. And of course, a mirror ball is reflecting everything there is. So it's reflecting the Earth, the moon, whatever you find in between all the stars. And so it was before even the first human eye went to space to see this, the Sputnik already did it. And so for the exhibition, it was important for us that we borrow the Sputnik from a museum and have it installed just sitting above our installation. So we had underneath, we had the Beuys fireplace with these figurines from another museum and so on and so forth. And on top, we had on the ceiling, there was a light, up light, in the how do you say, like a ceiling light in the museum, beautiful. And so an opaque glass, and on this opaque glass, we had the map of the world painted with lines, right, nicely. A political map of the world, so to say, it was called. And then underneath, Sputnik satellite was there placed, hanging above our installation. So I was busy in my artwork, with this satellite. And when I've seen the indication that, the brothers Baumgartner showed to me, from this medieval clock, I was like, yeah, sure, that's like the satellite, that's like Sputnik. And so I was thinking,
the connection has been made at that moment.
Perfect. So it's at the right time. And we did actually a performance as well, with the Sputnik satellite, where we had it mounted on top of a clothes hanger. You have a clothes hanger, and then the whole Sputnik was placed on top. And that clothes hanger was actually the mast on a pedalo boat. So we had a pedalo boat, and that was in the Sputnik design. It's in the 50s. You see it in many lakes in Switzerland. You have this kind of like 50s, design of the pedalo boats that is actually from the very time that the Sputnik hit space. So we had it like sitting on top of this clothes hanger, mounted on the pedal boat, and we did our little, space odyssey on the Lake of Lucerne, crossing the lake with the Sputnik mounted on top. So it was our little, space excursion, navigating across the sea. Yeah, so we were totally busy with the satellite. And so for me, it was like, okay, the watch actually should somehow reflect that.
Yeah.
It has an oval opening inside of its like semicircle display of time, and that opening is wandering across the semicircle until until the edge, and a new satellite is reappearing. So in this sense, it was for me clear that it had to be somehow inspired also by the looks of the Sputnik satellite. So it was an old, shiny, polished body and stuff like that.
Yeah, which is really funny because I've done some research because I was wondering who designed the Sputnik satellite, and there is not a former designer who is mentioned, but there is one guy who is mentioned who is Sergei Korolev. And when we take the idea of the connection you created with the anti-clock and the Sputnik satellites and the vision of the world, etc. Without that guy, without this Russian guy, with that idea of reflecting the light of what you see, we will not be able to see today, 26 years later, what you've created in 1997 with the first 1 or 2, which is mind-blowing, saying, okay, there is a connection between the future and the past, and everything is maybe connected to one guy or one entity. And it's the same with URWERK and all your creation. Without you and the teams, we will not be able to see what we see today, those two creations, but maybe we will not be able to see what the Indies world is today, because in the 1997 you were quite the only ones creating those modern watches at the time.
No, absolutely. I think it's fair to say that, and it's somehow always puzzling when you see how history plays out or how things come to be. There is always a reason for things, and one thing comes out of the other. But it's really, we have the chance to somehow shape this and shape, in this sense, shape our destiny. I'm convinced. What the outcome is not to foresee, but you can, step by step, you can follow your path, and that's actually what we did. But that's how it began. It was grounded or based in really kind of interesting, or also sometimes a bit silly, youthful, art endeavors. But that's something I'm really glad, that we are able to somehow bring these ideas into play, into work.
Yeah, exactly. There is, as I mentioned, 26 years who separate those two creations. The first one and the Reloaded that we can see today. And we can find in the novelty some wings made to the first UR1 or 2. Can you select 2 that make you the most happy?
Well, I mean, of course, when you do when you have the chance to redesign it or somehow to look again into it and see what if you do it again, how should it be done? Of course, you can then look at things that you'd like to change, and of course, in time, I many times looked at the first piece and saw, things that one could change or so. But when you're actually doing it, you can really, work again on these things, and somehow, in this sense, finish it or make it better and improve, somehow enhance it. So. And one thing that we did, we had already, that's what I liked at the time, to create a big crown, because the crown is for me the link, from the human being to the machine, and it's where you give your energy to the watch. That's something that very crucial. One idea of mine that it's quite obvious, but still it's something that I always thought has to be enjoyed, and therefore a big crown makes sense. Not it shouldn't be too tiny, and that you can they can do it right. So you have to enjoy that very moment where you somehow interact with the machine. Now, we had it at in the first watch, the original UR102, we had that crown sitting at the side, and because it was a big crown, it would somehow a bit, you know, hurt on your wrist.
Exactly.
Something that you can live with, but it's also not like a really terrible pain. Let's put it like this. But
it's fine.
It is,
you can
one can make it better. One can make it better. And we of course, we solved the problem in other watches that you know, in this way, that we move the crown up to the place where you have it now. Also,
yeah.
This watch, you have the crown here, so it's not really bothering your wrist. But with the UR102, the crown is originally at that very place. And for me to resolve the problem was to have it sunk into the case. And that's now a nice little detail that I enjoy a lot, that the crown is almost like hidden. You just see a bit of it actually looking at the watch, and it's not hurting you in any way, but it's still a big crown. And then, of course, when you look at the display, that's maybe a second detail. Time display used to be a perfect semicircle.
Yeah.
And I was now able to open that up a bit more, so that the edges are slightly slanted. So it's like a wider open. You see the moment when the hour starts a bit more clearly. So that's one a good thing about it. And also, it makes the case look a little bit more dynamic, and it moved the crown a bit out of center. So because of the slanted edge of the display opening, the crown is also a bit, you know, according to this,
it's
off
aligned to
yes.
that curve.
Exactly,
yeah.
And that all together gives a new and more dynamic look. And yeah, it's something that I enjoy a lot. Also, the locks on top, I altered a bit.
Yeah.
They were really very simple at the very beginning due to the way we were able to create the case. So it was all, of course, carved out by hand on a Schäublin.
Yeah.
And the locks were somehow also made with the means we had at the time. And now, of course, we are able to do that slightly different. And I was able to shape it so that you have a perfect transition. Yeah, like that you have a perfect transition from the case into the strap. And so let's say these three things are crucial.
And regarding those legs, is it are they separate from the case, or are they directly connected? When you are manufacturing the case, do you have to add them later on? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's like a special way to do it, because you want to have it screwed onto the case, and so that's done, you know, by our.
Okay.
Available for the moment, at the time being.
Yeah. Okay, those three details are very, very interesting, and we will jump on one details about the crown, but a bit later on. The display at Battle World in 1997 was somewhat unique. Can you describe it to us and share us the best moment you experienced during this fair?
Well, I mean, it was really also during the same time. I was still a student at art school, and of course busy doing my art projects. And I thought, you know, okay, now we're exhibiting something new, something hot. And according to this, you know, I thought the best way to express this would be if we would exhibit it on heating plates. So you had our watch sitting on top of heat. It was actually a triple or just a double heating plate there in the vitrine. with our watches on top, and it was so that was for me that was just totally the way it is. It's clear. I didn't really think that it would somehow create a steer or something, but so the second question can be answered easily. That the most enjoyable thing was, of course, to see the eyes of the HC members there, because I mean, I have to say, you're super interesting guys. These, very, let's say, individualistic people, with their crazy endeavors, and we are just one of those, crazy watchmakers, as all of them are, and. So we are exhibiting, but we had of course also the artist person, as part of it, and they have never seen a thing like this, and they were just totally puzzled. So their eyes and their faces, they were long, and so we gained a certain reputation, let's put it like this, among the other members, and so we kept it, of course, since that very moment. But they actually in time they started to understand it and to like it somehow. They knew, okay, the URWERK guys, that's the way they are.
That's a good advice for the older generation. So they are coming to a new world, etc. They have to be creative, even in their watches, but also in the way that you display it to the world. So it's something that they have to have in mind too.
You see, it's really actually a lifestyle. You bring if you're, as I said before, your individualistic plan or ideas. You bring that into play, and it's something at that time we did more or less intuitively. We didn't think too much about it. We just did it the way we liked it, or we felt perfect. And it's not that much that we were somehow restrained by somehow the way one does it. So you have usually these two options. You have the path of tradition, or you have the path of enlightenment. Let's juxtapose it like this. So one principle is that you do it the way it was always done, and then you can't do anything wrong because nobody will be shocked. Or you can say, okay, but I do it. I just had a good idea, or I had an idea. If it's good or not, we don't know yet. But I'm sure about it. I'm convinced about it, and therefore I'm showing it to you. And then you do it just the way you want, and if it's okay or not has to be proven. Happily, in our case, we managed to continue after the first show, and that's also thanks to the artsy, because of course they gave us the platform in the first place, and that is clear. So if they wouldn't have allowed us to exhibit, we wouldn't have been able to do it. On the other hand, they also didn't know what they're in it for when we showed up, So that was it.
Which is very interesting. We already spoke about details. Sorry, I have to mention one detail, and I have a question for you. The detail is 23,500,000,000 kilometers have been covered since 1997.
That's right.
Which is impressive. And I have also a connection with that number because I'm currently 26 years old.
There you go.
So I don't know if my car will go that far, but
for sure,
it's a huge number showing the connection between the past, what you've done, what you created, and also what you are also building today with over 26 years later. If there was only one detail left in the watch, what would it be?
Of course, you can look at it in different ways, So on one hand, you can look at what is the most quintessential, or what is the most important part of it that makes it what it is? That's actually an interesting philosophical question. If you look at something, what is that thing that gives it its characteristic thing? What is the characteristic thing of it? What makes it it? And then you can also look at maybe a detail that you are in love with because you think it came out nicely and it's just somehow. When you paint, for instance, you paint a painting, and I know that from doing it. If you have like one part in the painting that somehow that you like, you want to conserve it, you want to not destroy it, so you maybe keep it like this, and then you have to bring the rest of the painting on the same level. But that little detail can somehow, influence the whole rest of it.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the crucial moment in the whole thing, and it somehow has like an effect on all of the rest. And in this sense, I can say that the crown that is now somehow sunken into the case and a bit hidden, and you just see actually a few of those ripples around it, at the side. That is actually really cute detail, and I think it has an effect on the whole case, and that it was not there in the original piece. Of course, the time display is crucial. If you wouldn't have the time display, with its particular time indication principle, that wouldn't be a part of it. It wouldn't be what it is. But as the detail that I'm most in love with, let's put it like this, about it, it's definitely the crown, this little crown detail. So
I would have choose the same detail as you. That yes, the display is really important, and that's where you can really find the usefulness of the watch by being able to read the time. But as you mentioned earlier, maybe the most important detail is the connection with the machine that you are creating.
Yeah.
And yes, the crown is that special creation, but that connection is not, as we can say, a pain in the ass for the wrist.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
It's something like perfectly hidden, but also you can use it when you have to use it, and it does not destroy the complete design of the watch, because sometimes you see crowns, or you say, I know that, guys, you have to create those crowns because that's the way you have to wind the watch, and you perfectly add that crown on the shape of the case, and you know that you can really play with that without maybe destroying the balance of the design that you're creating.
Exactly. That's right. Exactly. So that's actually the most, let's say, beautiful part about it. In general, I was really happy. Actually, the thought that sparked the creation of the 102 Reloaded was a discussion we had at some point with Michael Tay at one of our exhibitions. I think it was the Basel World exhibition back in the day, long time since. But we were talking about this, and he said, "Yeah, you should actually do you should bring it back. It'd be great." And so since that very moment, there's quite a few years, that passed by. But I have to admit, it was actually due to this conversation we had, with Michael at our booth, so,
which is very fantastic. When we look at it, it was only one discussion you had with someone who today allowed us to see the creation you are just releasing, which is fantastic. Just you can even say, okay, I met someone, or regarding the last video we've done about the aggregate back to black, just by seeing a chicken grill, you found the way that the watch has to be. By speaking with Michael Tay, today you are releasing two beautiful timepieces, which is,
you see, it's always actually what sparks it. And I was talking about this as well in the interview before about the 112. There's usually a moment that begins an idea, and maybe at that very time you don't, when this happens, you don't even know it.
yeah.
It's something that happens, and then you start thinking about it, and you start to collect ideas that somehow connect to this spark, and in the end, that becomes a piece. But only in the end, somehow you can connect the dots to that moment where it began. Then that means that your work is an experiment. For me, this is an extremely important thing. I have to say, if it's something that you can read in a book or read somehow something that already exists and you just look it up and so, it's not so interesting. I think it's part of a journey. If you are alive, and if you can create things, then you have to somehow dare to go on this path, and you don't know yet where it brings you, but you have to be ready to be sparked. So to say.
That
you have to be ready to be inspired by things, and like this, you walk around, look at things, you never know.
But yeah, exactly. And speaking about inspirations, I have a question for you. Who is why two novelties? It was you was not you were not ready to do a choice regarding the novelty. You had a black version and a gray version, and you decided, okay, let's go ahead and do.
No, but I have to say, it's good actually to say that, because at the very beginning with URWERK, we were a bit in the same situation. We of course had this idea of the revolving satellites, and we knew that our first watch will be featuring this indication. That was the goal. But then we started looking at different designs, and so there was one idea that I explained. That was the UR102. That became the UR102. But of course, as the number indicates, there was another idea. That was the UR101. So these two watches we did at the very same time, and it was also there. We had two designs and two concepts that we loved, and so we couldn't agree on one or the other. So we decided to do both. So it's a little bit the same. It's when you like both, you just want to do both. That's the way it goes. That's all. The problem.
Which is perfect for me, because I made my choice after a long time. So I decided that one day I will have the titanium version on my wrist. The blue one, the blue dial is impressive. The sun ray that you can find when you move the watch around is very impressive. And I really loved it. And for you, which quote best embodies those creations?
Well, there's actually one saying that I think really fits to any endeavor, and when you are kind of beginning with something, or when you're creating something, it's usually one has to somehow be courageous, and I think I could say fortune favors the bold. That's actually the saying that fits to it from my point of view. Absolutely, exactly. But you had an idea as well there, so I'm wondering what you're
exactly. It's less philosophical, I'm not quoting Virgil. I'm quoting Buzz Leclerc when he say to infinite and beyond.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. It's actually talking about the same thing.
Exactly. With those creation, you really created a bridge between the past and the future by focusing on the present. Again, Martin, thanks a million for your time, for all the creations that you are doing on a yearly basis. And I hope we will meet soon. We will meet again very, very soon. I hope all the people enjoyed this special interview. If they have any questions, guys, let us know in the comments, and we'll try our best to reply to it. Martin, thanks a million, and I see you very, very soon.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Guys, again, thanks a lot for your time. I hope you enjoyed that special interviews I'm sure you've never seen before. We really want to create a bridge between you guys and those crazy creators as Martin FREI is. So see you very soon with for other novelties, and I hope you enjoy it too. Bye-bye.